Oh look, it's a Lamborghini. A sick-ass Lamborghini. About to go on a show Lamborghini. That's a solid car. That's a solid made car. Wow. Keep hitting things with my Lamborghini. Awesome. So now that I'm done showing off my friend's Lamborghini, because it's not my Lamborghini right now, excuse me, I have the hiccups. It's interesting to note because really what this video is about is the Yoga Sutras, in particular Sutra 115 and 116, that really have me excited because they're leading up to Sutra 117, which is one of my favorites in the first book. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. I'm not going to stand here and break down the words for you, but Sutra 115, Drishta Nushravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Vashikarasamnya Vairagyam, and my hiccup in the middle of that too. Basically, and I already covered this, but it's leading up to 116 and 117. So it's the consciousness of a person who is self-mastered is the consciousness of non-attachment. Non-attachment comes up a lot in conversations with yogis, yoga teachers, and even because it's a common concept. Being like goal-oriented but not outcome-oriented is a good example of that. You're gonna have to deal with my hiccups throughout this whole thing, so am I. That's a kind of non-attachment. And I just showed the Lamborghini is like a stimulus. I was on this frequency of non-attachment, and it's a beautiful thing. It's obvious to a lot of people the grossness of non-attachment, like meaning in like gross physical manifestations, holding on to relationships, holding on to situations that aren't serving you anymore, holding on to even your identity. As you get a little deeper into language, holding on to patterns of communication and so much more, because it gets really, really subtle as you get into self-help, as you get into really deep meditative practices where you can really calm your mind for a long duration and observe what's coming up from the depths, for lack of a better analogy, is we're holding on to ideas. We're holding on to ideas, we're holding on to philosophies, we're holding on to identities and storylines of what has happened to us in our life. We're holding those, and that's attachment. You're gonna have to let that go. At the end of your end, you're gonna have to let go of everything that you learned. Everything you've learned, including the things that you didn't necessarily study, like you learned how to respond to a certain situation as a child or as an adult. You learned how to react. You learned preferences, and you also learned like book knowledge, skills, and gossip, politics, all this stuff. You're gonna have to forget all that at the very end. There's no choice. You're not gonna be able to take it with you, and the more you can come into tune, and I work with this in the silent flute. So next Monday we'll be going over a particular meditation that helps an individual contemplate their own demise, their own immortality, their own impermanence. And when we look on the other side of that, on the other side of our impermanence, we can obtain a perspective that then looks back at our life, and it helps us prioritize what's really important. And so that the process of refining what we're really holding on to, what serves us. There are some things worth holding on to because they help us navigate the world. Ego is important in that sense, but there are some things that we're holding on to that will only create struggle in the end, because just removing a band-aid never feels good. So better to do it, when it's appropriate, than just wait until the end and you have all these band-aids and you tear them all off at the same time, and that makes not pleasurable. So the consciousness of self-mastery is the consciousness of non-attachment. Now 116. I love 116. Tat param purusha kyater gunavatrishnyam. Now this is talking about the gunas, which is not a big component of my ethos. I think it's interesting, but ultimately I think the gunas, which are rajas, tapas, sattva, are you pure? Are you passionate? Are you using momentum, or is there lethargy? Inertia, that's the word I was looking for. the key of the sentence that I like is Purusha Kyater. Purusha, which I've already talked about, is in the Samkhya system, in this dual system, is the observer, is the witness, the seer. And Kyater is like the ever persistent searching for it, or questing for identification with it. And so Purusha Kyater is when you come into a place of non-attachment, which might only be a glimpse, or it might be what just within a context, we can glimpse what the bliss of non-attachment is before we become fully liberated of all of our attachments, because it's a relative. It's relative to how much attachment we did have. We forget some of our attachments, or we discard them, or we replace them with more adaptable attachments. And there's a relief. There's less tension in that. We don't have to carry as much with us. In that state of mind, in that consciousness, there's a void, because it's like, well, now what? Now I'm free. What do I do with this freedom? Here's the answer. Purusha Kyater. You constant pursuit of I-ness, of that, of the witness, of that aspect of your being, of your existence, that is not fluctuating. That aspect of your existence that was the same you when you were 3 years old, when you're 13 years old, when you were 30 years old, when you're 60 years old. There's still you. There's an aspect of you that's witnessing your body aging, that's witnessing your dreams changing and your knowledge evolving, and witnessing you move through the world. It's the same witness that was you when you were born, and it's the same witness that's you when you die. And what happens before birth and after death, that's you know, I'm not going to answer that for you right now. But when you come to a place of supreme non-attachment, which is relative to where you were prior, because my supreme non-attachment might not be yours. You know, you might look at me and be like, Chris, you're still super attached. And it's like, yeah, but relative to yesterday, I'm way freer. And just keep going in that direction. There's, you know, there's no downside to that. Unless there's an aversion. So non-attachment is not aversion. You can be averse to your responsibilities and call yourself non-attached, and really you're just avoiding them, which is a kind of avoidance, is just the polarity of attachment. It's still attachment, just a different color. So non-attachment is pure unhindered freedom. And when you experience this, then the pursuit becomes Purusha Kyater, which is Sutra 116. And so I didn't want to make this a full Yoga Sutras lecture. The next video I come out with on the Yoga Sutras will go into Samprajñata, which is one of my favorite words to say. Plus, it's one of my favorite sutras from the first book of the Yoga Sutras. And but Purusha, your assignment to really assimilate this information, because this is fun. This is supposed to be entertaining. I do my best to have voice inflection and have a clever scenery, and I showed you a Lamborghini, and so this is to grab your attention. But this is not. This information is serious. The Yoga Sutras is 2,000 years old. Fuck, man, this is written in Sanskrit when, you know, to have something to write on was not, you know, you had to work to make something writable, and then to carry it with you, and so that it doesn't get destroyed, and then pass it down to your student to teacher to student to teacher, just to, you know, for thousands of years. And this information is not light, and you might think, well, it's not practical in this day and age, or applicable, but really what it is a greatly distilled, greatly refined, greatly simplified, and it's a greatly what you might call it's like a first principle. Like the Yoga Sutras, like they would call in physics, would be first principles. And which is what's so beautiful. Like the first sutra, Atta Yoga Anushasanam, now begins yoga. Now. It begins now, in this moment. It's not, okay, 5 minutes ago we began yoga, or in 10 minutes we're going to start yoga. No, now. Okay, so it's very, very practical. It's just a little more simplified than we're used to in the modern time, because we read books with thousands of words, but you couldn't do that 2,000 years ago. Writing was more difficult. So your assignment is to contemplate and focus, even if only for a moment, even if only for a minute, even if only for a brief time period each day at the end of your practice, before your practice, is okay. 2 assignments. First is to watch the meditation that I have on this channel called Accessing the Witness. It's a guided meditation, and that will help you get in tune with Purusha, because you have Purusha, it's just you might not be identifying with Purusha. Okay, if you do that, you've done that, or maybe you already are grasping it, you've already viscerally experienced Purusha Prakriti, that duality of here's my ego identity, and then here I am witnessing my ego identity. Well, this is Purusha. Okay, so next assignment is how can you bring Purusha into more moments in your life? There are great key moments for me are my yoga practice. I step on my yoga mat. Okay, how can I be not so much about the postures? What am I doing? Obviously, I want to be healthy and safe, so I'm doing postures in a way that, you know, is like that. I need that intelligence there. But how can I bring more Purusha? How can I bring more objectivity? How can I witness my practice and be okay with it? Have that supreme non-attachment juxtaposed with abhyasa, the practice. So there's like disciplined focus, but then I let go of the outcome. And so it's a very almost ambiguous space to be in. Now, these are previous sutras I'm talking about. So contemplate, you know, another great place, I'll say the second place is in traffic. So when I'm driving in traffic, like LA traffic, you know, how can I access more of my witness while I'm driving, which creates a supreme state of contentment. So if you like this video, definitely subscribe, sorry, the hiccup, comment below, and Mondays, I give recorded lectures. We go deeper into actual practices of yoga. That's called the Silent Flute. You go to ninthlimb.com and sign up for that. And I'm very excited about the Heart Seal coming out October 1st, which is a yoga therapy product around the shoulder girdle, balancing those muscles. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. Namaste, and I'll see you next time.